What is going on, everybody? Again, it's Sunday. We'll let everybody roll in. We're going to get started about 9 o'clock. Share this. Appreciate everybody coming in, spending a little time on Sunday. Got a couple topics, and I will share. I'll share with you just kind of the week that was, and we'll go from there. A lot of Q&A tonight. That's what I wanted to do, so I will do a lot of Q&A, so have your questions ready. What's going on? 9 o'clock, all right. We're live on Facebook, we're live on Instagram, and we are live on Periscope. I'm going to check the Twitter feed, make sure that we are live on Twitter, that it is posted in the feed. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I can usually tell by the follower count how many people are joining in, if it did or not. It looks like it is, but I'll just go double check and make sure, and then we'll go. We'll be off and going. Yeah, we're good. All right, so I had a guest planned. I had kind of a guest planned out. It would have been our first player on Sunday Swings Live. It went all the way up until this morning, and they were on the road, and he couldn't come on. I will say this, and I'm not gonna announce who it is yet, but it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. This guy is gonna be a lot of fun to talk to. Hopefully we'll get it set in stone next week, and I think you guys are really, really, really going to like it. I was really, really excited. It was all the way up to this morning, and he said, we're on the road. I don't think we'll be able to get back in time, so we just kind of said we'll work it out next weekend and go from there. I put it out to see if anybody wanted to come on the show. Didn't get any responses, so I got a couple topics I'm going to touch on, and then I'm going to do question and answer. Okay, so here we go. I posted on Twitter, I think yesterday morning. I threw out a Tony Gwynn stat about WAR. The point that I was making is that, and I'm going to unpack this a little bit, is that batting average is often the tool we use to evaluate hitters, and often it is not. I don't think it is the best measuring stick to fully understand the value of a hitter, because the point of the game is to score runs. So a hitter, an offensive player, should be they should be solely evaluated upon how many runs that they account for. I understand that batting average is a tool to gauge how consistently hard a player hits the ball or whatever, but runs produced is the most important statistic. Our game is played by runs. The funny part about it is that players that slug, players that drive in runs, players that can get themselves in scoring position out of the box, whether it be extra base hits, whether it be home runs and scoring themselves, are the most valuable players on the team. Make no mistake about that. Giving up outs for bases is not an offensive strategy. I understand it's a necessity at times, but it's not an offensive strategy. Players should be looking to drive the ball early in counts, look for fastballs to hit, and hit them hard. Get yourself into scoring position. You will become infinitely more valuable on your team, whether you're getting yourself there or driving in guys that are there. Batting average is not a statistic, and I know we'll talk about it till the end of time, but batting average is not a good measuring stick for how many runs a player produced. It just isn't. It will never be. I know it is probably an accurate gauge of how hard the player hit the ball consistently, which I agree with, but take and Bobby Tewksbury and I talked about this on Twitter yesterday. Take, for example, Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve, two opposite ends of the spectrum. Altuve is hitting, like, as of yesterday, he was hitting 362, and I think Aaron Judge is hitting like 280. But they have almost accounted for the same amount of runs. Their values to their teams are identical. Granted, one is hitting 80 points higher. The amount of runs that they account for is almost the same. Now, they've done it a little differently. Judge has hit 37 homers. I think Altuve's hit hit 19s, certainly. But even a guy like Mike Trout, who has had some years where he struck out 140 times and hit 280, he still put up massive run production. Run production is the name of this game. Like, that's it. You score more runs than the other team, and you limit the amount of runs they score. That's it. I mean, I don't know why people want to overcomplicate matters. You either score more runs than the other team, or they score more runs than you. And you try to limit them on defense and pitching, and you try to score them on offense. In order to score them on offense, I don't understand why we still argue this. Is that players that hit balls in the air produce more line drives? The data and information is there. If you hit the ball in the air, you will hit more line drives. If you hit more line drives, then you are more valuable to your team. So this goes back to my world is how do you train, right? I mean, that's what I do. I train players, and when we train players to get the ball up off the ground. We use hit tracks and all these other cool tools to measure and assess how well they are doing those things in a training environment. Now, we try to put them in an environment once a week in a competitive environment where they face live pitching, and we try to evaluate and assess where they are there. Which leads me to my second point that I posted today, and Peter Drucker said that what gets measured gets improved. I don't understand why everyone can't get through their mind that the answers to baseball are really simple, and we'll unpack this a little bit in terms of recruiting. If you are an athlete looking to be recruited by a college, players that hit balls harder, players that throw balls harder are more valuable. They play longer. There's no and add a third one: players that are faster, players that run faster. If you can run fast and hit the ball hard and throw the ball hard, you're going to play a long time. Now, here's one thing that everybody gets lost in is that, well, everybody's not going to be Billy Hamilton, and I know that. And if you're a player and you are lost in comparing yourself to other players, stop. Okay, just stop. You're not Billy Hamilton. You are not who you have to be. You, okay, you have to be you. And whatever you are today, you have to have a plan to be better than that tomorrow. That is it. Like, and I use major leaguers as an example, and they're great examples because you have to do what they do. They didn't become the best versions of themselves by not doing what they do. I posted a picture of Donaldson and Pujols today. There is no question an elite way to swing a baseball bat. Now, how do you develop that? We can go round and round about how to develop that, but there is a certain particular pattern of all major league hitters, of all the good major league hitters, to swing a bat. Now, you should be trying to do that. Now, they are the best version of themselves. You are trying to be the best version of yourselves, and comparing yourself versus them or your teammate or the guy on the other team, it doesn't have a practical use because A, you don't know how good you're going to be. B, you don't know how good the guy you're comparing him to is going to be, and you don't know the journey that which the guy in the major leagues went on to get where he got. All you're trying to do is run your own race, be the best version of yourself, train hard, do the things they do. Okay, do the things they do. Doesn't mean you're going to be what they are, but you're going to do the things they do. And it's not up to anybody's, Eugene Bleecker and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's not up to anybody to tell you what you can and can't be as a player. You just have to train every day to be better than you were yesterday, and then let the chips go where they are. To that point, having a conversation yesterday with a guy, one of my clients, about his son and his recruiting path, and we were talking about some guys that had verbally committed or signed, and his son had not. The point I want to make is that if you are a player, it makes no sense, but it's the truth that if you go to, say, the Perfect Game Worldwood bat, and you throw 85 miles an hour and you go 5 scoreless innings, and you strike out 4 and you give up 3 hits and you give up no damage, but you only throw 85 miles an hour, you're not going to have as many opportunities as the guy who goes out at 92, 93 and maybe gives up 3 runs in 5 innings and maybe walked 3 or 4 and gave up 4 or 5 hits, but he's 92, 93. You have to have a tool. You have to have tools that stand out and jump off the page if you are going to be recruited. That is the way the world goes. If you hit 340, but your exit velocity is middle of the road average, or your throwing velocity is middle of the road average, and your running speed is middle of the road average, you're just not going to have that many opportunities. With that being said, in a training environment, how trainers, coaches, people that do individual instruction, whatever, are not measuring and assessing these things, I don't know. I don't know how coaches don't provide that kind of feedback for their players. There are ways you can figure those things out. But those are the most important things. Players that hit the ball, consistency being a given. If we're talking about Division I professional players, consistency is a given. They can hit the ball. They can hit the ball plenty often enough. The players that hit it the hardest, the players that run the fastest, the players that throw it the hardest are the ones that get the most opportunities. Whether you think that's fair or unfair doesn't matter. That's just the truth of the matter. Is you have to be a powerful player, and you can't skip on training those tools. You just can't. Now, comparing your tools to somebody else's tools doesn't have practical measure. Just train to be the best version of you. Whether that's, I've got kids right now. I've probably got 20 kids right now. I don't know where any of them are going to end up, but I know what we're trying to do, and I know what we're trying to prove and improve, and I know how we're measuring it, and I know how we're mapping to get the improvement that we're looking for. Where they'll end up, I don't know. And it's not my job to predict where I think they will go. But we have tools. We measure, we train, we assess, and we do those things. So what you don't measure, you can't improve. And here's another example. We talked about this on Twitter this week. There was a post about, I can't gain weight. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. We'll talk about it because I'd love to have Connor Dawson on. He just got a job at a college, so I thought about asking Connor this week, but we'll get Connor on, I promise, because he's good, and you guys need to hear what he has to say. So back to the point of putting on weight. So the conversation was, if you're an athlete right now watching this and you were trying to put on weight, here's where you start. Download the MyFitnessPal app and start counting your calories. If you get to 5,000 calories and you weigh yourself every week or every 2 weeks and you haven't put on weight, you have to up your intake to 6,000 calories. Now, is high quality calories better? Sure, but if you are 15 or 16 years old, look, you don't care. You just need to get calories in your body, protein in your body, because most of you are not eating enough. Like you say, I can't gain weight. Yes, you can. If you want to improve something, you have to measure it. That goes from weight gain, that goes for throwing velocity, that goes to exit velocity, that goes to running speed, that goes to all the things that we put together and package for players to try to do. Now, players that weigh more, that can bench, squat, deadlift more are more powerful and better players. Again, we're trying to improve bench, squat, and deadlift, so we measure it. We're trying to put on weight, so we measure it. We're trying to get guys to hit balls harder, so we measure it. We're trying to get guys to throw balls harder, so we design programs and we measure them. Now, those programs are available to you. You can use the very programs that we use. You may not be able to assess them, but we use if you join the online coaching and player development program. That's what that is. Those are the in-house programs that we use that you can follow: bench, squat, deadlift, mobility, stability, and weighted bat program hitting. You can get in those and you can join those, and I will be a reference, and I will continue to train players and measure and assess them to develop that program. So I'll just take a few questions and a lot of questions, hopefully, on those regards, on recruiting, on whatever. Somebody on Instagram asked, how much time should I take off throwing, or do I need to take off any? Yes, if you are a year-round player, you're playing showcase baseball, You play your high school season in the spring. You're playing showcase baseball in the summer. You're trying to play fall ball. You need to take 4 to 6 weeks off, depending upon how hard you throw, really. If you throw in the mid-70s, you don't need to take as much time off because you're just not doing that much damage to your arm. You're just not producing a lot of force. If you throw 90 to 95, you need to take 6 weeks off at least, if not 8. Because I think, and I can't speak to this because I don't have a medical license or medical degree, but guys are just, and I think a lot of the arm injuries, and I think this has probably been written, is guys are throwing too many competitive innings. They're throwing 10 months out of the year, 11 months out of the year, competitive innings off the mound from a young age, and just it's too much. It's too much. At least if you're a pitcher and you're playing year round, get off the mound for 5 months. Train to get your arm into better shape. I saw this on the Driveline. I don't know if you've seen the Driveline video, A Day in the Life of the Driveline. And they take a lot of flack for this, that, or the other, all about weight, velocity development, all this. But more so importantly, they are about arm fitness and overall fitness. They're producing more powerful players that can last longer and play, that can pitch competitively at a higher level. They have a lot of tools that do that. They measure it in a lot of ways. But again, if you can measure it, you can improve it. And they are measuring a lot of things. Things that I can't measure, things that you probably can't measure, but they are measuring it, and you should use their programs as well. Somebody asked a question on Periscope. Hope that answers your question about taking time off. Yes, 4 to 6 weeks. If you don't throw that hard, take 4 weeks to just not pick a ball up, and then you can start light throwing programming, weighted ball training through the wintertime to get your arm in good shape to go and play competitively in the spring. We are going to do that in my programs. For the guys that have trained throughout the spring, summer, and fall, we're going to take a mandatory 4-week period off in October to mid-November. I've not decided yet. We'll see how the guys end up in their final assessments, and then we'll determine how much time they're going to take off. Who's my favorite baseball player of all time? So when I was a kid, my favorite baseball player was probably King Griffey Jr. Today, my favorite player is probably Josh Donaldson. Who's my favorite swing to look at? Barry Bonds or Albert Pujols. I mean, I think I find those two guys fascinating and how they do things. Somebody on Facebook asked, primary causes of rolling over, drills sure, consistent palm up, palm down through contact. So I think both of those things are products of greater issues than just hand-arm things. Like the hands aren't a real active producer of much in the baseball swing. They just aren't. They hold the bat, and then we use the body and how we wind and unwind the body and the kinetic chain to produce speed in the arms and hands. I think when you become an active arm accelerator, then you have a lot more issues than just rolling over. Your swing starts to flatten out. You get off plane, you swing off the plane left to right, or you swing off the plane up and down. A lot of things that happen when you become an active arm hand pusher that are not good. So I would say drills to ensure that I don't know. You have to understand the 4 basic points that I point out all the time, and then go from there. What do you think about Teacher Man? I like Teacher Man. I've said that on here before. I like his ideas. I like his philosophies. I like his mind. He's got a good mind. He's just not figured this whole internet thing out yet. He's still chirping at people that he doesn't need to do, but he's got good ideas. I actually read some of his website today. I mark and tag things, and I had a few things that I wanted to go back and read on his website again. So yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He's not a good follow on Twitter, but he's fine. Yeah, his stuff's good to read, and I think if you try to understand what he's doing, I know I communicate back and forth with a few guys that have worked with him, and they really, really like him. So yeah, he's fine. Just a little rough on Twitter. That's all. I'll probably get killed for saying that on Twitter. I've said it 3 times on here before, though. Questions, swing questions, training questions, exit velocity, launch angle questions, as measurement of training and tools. I don't know if you miss these things. If you miss these, they're all on my YouTube channel. Go look me up, my name on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel. Make sure you share those around. Thought about making a podcast. Again, I got a lot of irons in the fire on my own social media. I do my own social media, and I've got a lot of followers. I talk on Twitter a lot, while training players, while running a sales business. So I don't get to the podcast yet, but I would love to. Any questions? Any other questions? I'm looking for questions. I didn't have a guest tonight. The guest that I had, again, that I wanted to get on, it would have been our first player, and it would have been it would have been fun, it would have been huge. It's going to be huge. He's going to come on next week. I don't want to announce who it is yet because I just want to make sure he's good to go next week. Just sent me an email this week wanting some t-shirts. So I asked him, hey, I'll send you some t-shirts. Would you mind coming on the Sunday Swings live show on Periscope, Facebook, and Instagram? So he agreed, but he couldn't come on this week, so we'll come on next week. So that's where we are at doing questions this week. So fire away. I'm here for 30, 40 minutes. What would you say are the best ways to increase exit velocity? So the training program that I released online, the ideas of exit velocity, and I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your overall fitness level is, but bench squat, deadlift, improve your bench squat and deadlift, improve your overall mobility in your hips, your T-spine, and your scaps, so that you can, and again, I say this a lot, your swing will take its shape based upon the external intent. Within basic parameters, your swing is going to take its shape based upon your external intent and your movement profile. I was talking to some college guys this week, and your swing will happen based largely upon your movement profile. If you're a really tightly wound, immobile guy, then your swing's going to look different than the guy like Josh Donaldson who's hypermobile. So you've got to spend time on your mobility in your joints that involve hitting, which is your scaps, your T-spines, your scap, your T-spine, and your hips. Improve those joints, and your swing will be better. It will just be more fluid. 8 years old, if you're 8, here's the thing. If you're 8, if you have an 8-year-old kid and you're watching this, that is the thing. You have to get basic athleticism stance out of the way. You have to make sure external intent is the governing body, and you have to have some understanding of balance. If you can get those 3 things down from a young age, then your battles later on will be a lot better. A lot of kids, a lot of players that I get after they're 8, their swings are just wrong because the external intent of them are wrong. They've been told straight to the ball. They've been told hand snob to the ball. They produce negative swing planes that are off plane with pitches, and now they've got a whole heap of trouble when the ball speeds up. They can't hit it because they've got the wrong ideas. So if you're young or you've got young players, just get the intent right. Get the intent to hit the ball hard and far. I told the story about Mike Bryant last week, raising Chris Bryant. That's what they did. That's what Ted Williams did. That's what Babe Ruth did. That's what Joe DiMaggio. Like, you go back and you look at all the greats that didn't have the internet, that didn't have the technology, that didn't have StatCast, that didn't have private lessons, that didn't have advanced instructors. How did they get where they got? Well, they from a young age, they just tried to hit the ball hard and far. They played outside, and they set up a boundary. And I say this about players from the Dominican and the Caribbean, is they play outside all the time. So their only feedback of their swing, exit velocity, launch angle is how far the ball goes. And if you can see all the time how far the ball goes, then you can just continue to train and look for ways to swing harder and hit the ball farther. That's it. More of those guys play in the major leagues per capita than America. It crushes America, because down there, homers get you off the island. And for some reason, we've become anti-homer. Like, I don't know what happened. And I think a lot of it is where a lot of people in America train inside and training cages, and we've just got the whole batting cage thing all wrong. If you spent 5 minutes on a hit tracks, which I'm going to Charlotte. If you're going to be in the Charlotte area next week, I think there's 2 spots available in the clinic that I'm going to be doing next weekend in Charlotte. So if you want that, just shoot me a DM. What should I tell my coach who tells me to hit the ball on the ground and use my speed? Nothing. You shouldn't tell him anything. You should just appease him for a short amount of time by moving your center of mass forward and getting your swing a little flatter. Hit the ball on the ground in a BP setting, and then on your own, go work on elevating the ball off the ground, because honestly, coaches don't say anything to guys that hit doubles and homers. They just don't. They may chirp in practice because they think that, if you stay low in practice, you're going to somehow miraculously elevate in the game, which is just dumb. There's lots of stupid things about baseball. One of the things is, if you practice one way, you'll do this, and no, you won't. I live that. You won't do that. In your opinion, is there any negatives of weighted back training for a reason a player not to use a weighted back program? No. Well, yes. Okay, so I think lack of education could probably be a negative. If you don't know the intent and the basic parameters to work within of your swing, you can get in some bad places, or using too heavy of bats and not knowing what weights to use and what ways to use them. I think you just got to be educated about it. There are a lot of materials online. I kind of did all the work for you and compiled them together into a 12-week program. If you want to get in it, great. If not, you can do your own research. It's out there. Just educate yourself on what to use, when to use it, and how to progress through it, and then try to have a basic understanding of, because you can develop some bad drag positions if you don't really understand hitting and weighted back training. But I don't have any of that in my programs. We kind of really hammer home the basic parameters of hitting and intent-driven swing mechanics. That's what we talk about. We want to let intent drive the ship, so there's less thinking. Being on time becomes imperative, and then we go from there. That was a Facebook question. These are good. Keep them coming. Any questions regarding hitting? Any questions regarding recruiting? Any questions regarding measurement, batting averages as a and I said this week about batting average. Back to the batting average point is batting average is becoming what time of possession was in college football 10 years ago. A guy by the name of Chip Kelly came along and said, what difference does it make how long we have the ball if we score points and we outscore the other team? Like, what difference does it make if your batting average isn't over 300 if you're a massive run producer? It doesn't. Like, who cares? If you produce runs, the name of the game is runs. Like in football, score more points than the other team. Who cares how long you have the ball? Like that was the whole Oregon philosophy when Chip Kelly took over is we're going to score more points than the other team. Like, as a hitter, drive in runs, produce runs, score runs, slug, train that way. Exit velocity, launch angle. Runs is the name of our game. Like, I'm not sure. You don't have to score them one at a time. You don't have to bunt every time you get on first. But, like, I don't. Common sense is not so common in baseball. Like, I don't understand that whole world of runs is the name of this game offensively. Score more runs than the other team, and then you can reverse engineer that however you want. But score runs in bunches, not going to matter what your batting average is. Now, will your batting average be pretty good? Yeah, it will be pretty good. If you slug a lot of balls, your batting average is going to be pretty good. But as the ultimate predictor of success, batting average is not a useful tool. It doesn't give you any indication of how many runs the guy produced. He hit 350, great. I'd take somebody that hit 280, like Aaron Judge, and produced massive amount of runs. I think Aaron Judge's offensive WAR this year is like 6, which is tied for second. That's a massive number, and he's hitting 280. He struck out 33 or 34 straight games now. Now, he's an anomaly, certainly. Most of the guys that have the high WARs are hitting over 300. But again, if you're hitting over 300, great. But if your run production runs is the name of the game. runs, score runs. Score runs, hit the ball up. That's proven to score more runs. That's proven by data to have a higher slugging percentage, a higher line drive percentage. If you missed the Sunday Swings live talk with Brandon Matthews, he did the data on his college team, fly ball ground ball rates. Guys that hit more fly balls, produced more line drives, scored more runs, slugged higher. You just got to work on those things. You got to give guys the freedom to work on those things. And if you're a coach and you're running a team, you got to give guys the freedom to work on those things. Hands the ball knob to the ball doesn't produce upward swing plane. You got to hit the ball in the upward plane to match the pitch trajectory. I don't know why that's hard to understand for people. They seem to think that you can practice one way and play another. I don't know. Other questions. Our audience is kind of dwindling, so we may be running this thing down. Sorry there's not a guest. The guest is going to be good, though, I promise you. And then after that, we'll get Connor Dawson on here, and he can talk about his thing because he's good. Ryan Parker, good. I posted today in the if you are in the player development program, there's a new message board there. I'm going to try to post insight, daily ideas and content there. I posted a list of guys that I follow on Twitter that I really, really like. If you're in that, go check that out. You can go into your account, get over to the message board, and then you can post there too. So post who you like to follow. You can post questions there all the time. I encourage you to use that as our communication tool. And again, if you're in the player development program and you've got insight on how we can make it better, I'm listening because I want to help. I want to help you train better. I want to help you get your exit velocities up and give you more opportunities to be a good player. That's what I've always been about. That's what I'll continue to be about. I get lost too much in the concern of what other coaches think. I'm just trying to help players be better. I don't really care what other coaches think, especially ones that are trying to argue against points that are supported by data and analytics. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not arguing with me. You're arguing with numbers, which don't lie. A lot of the training that I do is numbers and analytics based. If I thought the numbers were better in a different direction, that's the direction we would go, and that's the direction I would take players in. Any questions? Any other questions? We're about 30 minutes in, so if you don't have any other questions, Facebook, Periscope, and Instagram, I will get off of here. I posted a couple of long sleeve t-shirts in the shop. Go buy those. Help me grow the Velo Lab and grow the tools of measurement that I use to help train players. That's kind of my fundraising is the online player development program and the t-shirts. That's how we raise funds and money to buy new tools to give players better feedback. And then if you want me to come and do a clinic and bring the hit tracks, I'm doing Velo Lab, packing up the lab, the weighted bat program, coming to your facility and outlining the weighted bat training program with all the training protocols, and then you get a 1-year access to all the updates that go into the online coaching and player development program. Any other questions? I had a few notes, but I covered those. If there's no other questions, thoughts on the UT from Nine Zone. I've not used it. I think it's kind of like the backspin tee, which is good. I think the backspin tee is good. I think the launch angle tee is good. I think all those tees that allow you to access to the bottom of the ball without a lot of resistance are good. Because you got to work through the bottom of the ball. Thoughts on weighted or with plyo care balls? I'm assuming he's talking about plyo care balls on Facebook. We use the plyo care balls when we do our constraint drills. We use the plyo care balls off the tee, the heavy ones, with the heavy bats. But just contact feedback is good. That's all. We use them though. And we use the really overweight bats doing heavy bat constraint drills off the tee. If you're in the program, you know what I'm talking about. Any other questions? Recruiting, hitting, training. weightlifting, speed, throwing programs, long tossing, indoor long tossing. Some of you, the weather's getting cooler up north, Canada. I know we've got some Canadian friends. Your weather's probably cooling off. You're probably headed inside. Indoor throwing programs work great. I'll be glad to work with you and help you set those up using radar guns. We throw inside every day using radar guns. We use radar guns instead of distance to gauge intent. Thoughts on weighted ball long toss? It's good. I think you got to know what you. I think you got to know. I think you got to know kind of how to do it. But yeah, it's good. It's good. We use weighted balls in our indoor long tossing program, which we use. Just to give you an example, when we do indoor long tossing, what we do is we set a top line. We set a top line raw arm speed, and then off of that we'll throw 10 balls with an 11 ounce ball at 40% of that top end raw arm velocity. We'll throw 10 balls at 50% with a 9 ounce. That's like being at 60 feet, being at 90 feet. We'll go 10 balls at 70% with a 7 ounce balls, like kind of being at 120 feet with air under the ball, and then we'll go up to the 5 ounce 90% plus, which is kind of working out to your max distance, like the Alan Jaeger throwing program, which is really, really good. We just do it inside and we use the radar gun. It's just more efficient way to use time. Instead of being outside and having to chase balls, we just throw it into a net and use the radar gun. They use the radar gun to manage their intent, and it's a lot faster. We can throw 10, 20 guys at a time and not take hours picking balls up and whatever out on the field. But it's good. Being out on the field is good too. If you're using weighted balls in a throwing program, just understand that you don't use weighted balls on your pull down phase. You would use them on your progression out, and then on your pull down phase you would use the 5. That's all. If you're throwing outside, you need to use velocity as your measurement tool. I've written several indoor-outdoor throwing programs where you still have to get a raw arm grade. You still have to get a running pull-down crow hop raw arm grade. That is just your baseline measurement of progress and a tool that you use to assess. What age would you start weighted ball training? So, you can start at. Here's the thing. We do weighted ball training with like 9-year-olds. What we use the drive line plyo care program with the 9-year-olds. We don't do any high intent, high output throwing programs with young players. They only do their high output throws with 5 ounce balls. But it's the same concept as weighted bat. In order to improve the central nervous system and feel and feedback and arm action, weighted balls is the only way to do it. You can't internally cue it. You can't instruct it. If you want to have players be more efficient throwers, then I suggest you look into the Driveline Plyo Care program. They have a youth program. I have it. We follow it, and we don't really do a whole lot of high intent throws, but we do mechanical work with the Plyo Care throws to make kids better, more efficient throwers. 9 through 12, generally we do that, and then 13 we start in a little different program, and then 13 and up and through college and professional guys we do different things. But start young, start them at 8, 9 years old. Just be responsible and follow the Driveline stuff. You can't go wrong with them. Any other questions? These are good. It's about 9:40, 30 or 40 minutes. This has been good. I didn't have a real plan for tonight when the guest fell through, so I just wanted to jump on and take some training questions. Any other questions? Are there any drills to improve hip-shoulder separation in your swing? So what you're talking about is sequencing of the chain. If you want to improve the separation of your swing, you need to improve how you load and wind how you load and create wind and stretch, and then how efficiently you do that, and then how efficiently you move into the ground will will produce separation, upper and lower body separation. If you sequence in your load correctly and you position your parts and stretch and pieces correctly, then your separation will be better without trying to separate better. You want to try to stay away from internal places that are not gonna produce changes in the central nervous system that are gonna help you in the game. Because when you get into a high stress environment, your body's just going to click into its default mode and click into autopilot. It's going to, all that static, slow work you did with working on your separation is not going to happen because you didn't really base your work around intent and learning what you're doing. So learn how to load better. Learn how to load and create dynamic stretch better. Any other questions? Any other questions? Hitting questions, throwing questions, training questions, recruiting questions, online program questions. Watch if you missed the previous ones, we did interviews the last 3 weeks. Go to YouTube, look my name up, Chad Longworth. You will find my YouTube channel, subscribe, share, and you can watch the previous 3. You can watch this one. This one will repost on Wednesday. So if you want to rewatch them, again, you can rewatch them. It's live on Periscope for 24 hours. It will be live on Instagram for 24 hours. It stays up on Facebook for a while, and then you can go to YouTube and watch it. So I appreciate you all stopping in. I'm going to jump over in the private group. Answer any training questions that they have in the private group. Everybody that's in the online training, it's in the private group. If you're not in the private group, send me a DM with your email address. If you didn't get the invite, go to the online message board in the online hitting group. We're creating kind of a social media environment there with the people that are in the training program, so we can talk and share ideas there. Appreciate you watching. Again, big guest. Hopefully next week. I may announce it this week. I may not announce it at all. I probably will because you guys will be excited about who it is, and so you'll watch. Or maybe I won't, and you'll watch anyway. But I'm excited about who it is. Connor Dawson, if you're watching this or if you hear this, we'll set it up for hopefully 2 weeks from now because the guest next week will be so good you will want to see it. Appreciate everybody watching. I'm going to jump over here. Again, I'm Chad Longworth. I'm a coach trainer guy, data-driven player development guy who has a curious fascination with how to help players get better. So I appreciate you watching and have a great week. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. I'm going to go on tonight and post. I didn't get my Sunday swings on Snapchat. If you don't follow me on Snapchat, @CLongBaseball, go follow me on Snapchat. I'm going to post it as soon as I get done with the live Q&A in the online coaching program. All right, thanks for watching.